here are some basic principles about how to hold a bow. So first off, it should be said that there are several different methods and styles of bow holds. Probably one of the most common in current practice is the Franco-Belgian, which looks somewhat like this briefly. In the past, violinists such as Heifetz made famous another type of bow hold, the Russian style, which is more pronated towards the index finger with the pinky just barely touching. The Franco-Belgian bow hold, in contrast with the Russian style, is a bit more supple and provides a bit more dexterity and finesse, whereas the Russian style is kind of known for being very effective at producing a big tone and being quite aggressive in the approach to the string. In terms of just getting the hand onto the bow, it's always good to start with the thumb, which is often forgotten because we don't see it behind the rest of our fingers. Our thumb goes just in the small divot between the frog and the grip here. There should be a small space where the wood is revealed, and that's about exactly where our thumb likes to go. And it should be slightly bent and just holding at the kind of the tip pad area of the thumb. A common way of teaching young students is the circle method between the thumb and the middle finger. So we make a circle with our thumb and our middle finger, and then when we place our thumb into the divot between the grip and the frog, our middle finger can just slightly overhang on the other side of the bow, on the other side of the stick. And this is a common method of starting out a beginner bow hold. The other fingers, I like to divide our fingers into balancing fingers and then just gripping fingers. So the pinky and our index finger are very important balancing fingers. For beginning students, I like to use what's called a pinky house, so a small container made out of tape, electric tape, that allows the pinky to stand upright and curved at the edge, at the end of the bow. This is an especially difficult technique for young students, as pinkies are not the easiest fingers to control and are likely to slip either forward or the other direction, or be straight or bent in other ways than fully curved. So the pinky house makes that whole process much easier for young students to learn. The other balancing finger is our index finger, so they're on polar sides. And the index finger, we grip, we don't fully curve around the bow, so it's not a gripping finger, it is a balance finger, and we hold it right in the middle, in the center of the middle joint for Franco-Belgian. This is in contrast to Russian style, which places the index finger slightly higher on the bow, so in that first knuckle space. But for this video's purpose, we'll stick with the Franco-Belgian of having it right in the middle knuckle. For practicing the dexterity of these two fingers is quite difficult, so a couple exercises would be pinky push-ups, where you extend the pinky and press the bow down so that the other side of the bow comes up. So that's what I like to call a pinky push-up. And then the other way of practicing the dexterity of these two fingers is by wiping the bow back and forth and using our pinky and index finger in contrasting motions, kind of like a rudder on a boat. The ring finger covers the eye on the bow, and it's common for the ring finger to want to be too high, which doesn't permit as strong or firm of a grip. So keeping it lower over the bow, more blanketed over the bow, so that it's around the same distance over the bow, over the frog, as our middle finger. Some students like the idea of thinking of it as a bunny bow grip, with our pinky and index finger acting kind of like bunny ears, and others prefer to call it a slug. It also equally looks like a slug bow hold. In terms of gripping the bow and using it, it's most effective and we have the most power and control the closer it is to our palm. If you think of grabbing something as tightly as possible, we grab it in a fist. And the opposite of that would be grabbing it at the very, very tips of our fingers. The least amount of power, most amount of power. And that's why it's so important in a bow hold to have as many joints curved gently as possible. So all of the joints in our fingers on the front side of the bow are curved gently, not tense or not gripping too firmly in any way. And the thumb especially is bent at this first knuckle to permit the bow to be closer to the palm. If this joint straightens, the bow automatically is shot much further away from the palm, which has the effect of having less control with the bow. It's important to keep all the fingers curved because they act like shocks on a car, so they take in a lot of the impact when we put the bow onto the string. And then finally, the rest of the hand is equally as important as the fingers. And so I like to think of having a plane, when our bow is at neutral, I like to think of having a plane all the way from the elbow, through the wrist, through the palm, and even through these first knuckles, where it just ever so slightly curves downwards to these first knuckles, but the rest is on quite an even plane. When we're at the tip of the bow, when our bow is extended, our wrist will be pronated, and our fingers will be in a more extended position. They're not necessarily going to be perfectly curled. And when we're at the frog, when our wrist is the opposite of pronated, supinated, our fingers will then be more curled underneath, enabling the bow hair to tilt slightly towards us as we bow towards the frog.